Hi, I'm Allison, your host for Spanish Zero. I assume you're watching because you speak English and want to speak Spanish too. But before we start, I have a question for you that you don't have to answer, but to keep in mind throughout this presentation. Why would you want to speak a language that you don't understand? I know it sounds like a ridiculous question, but by the end of this video, you'll know exactly why I'm asking. In our society, few subjects of study have brought about as many contradictions, false claims, and poorly constructed courses as foreign language learning has. Universities make the subject harder than it should be, and booksellers try to convince you it's easier than it actually is. But self-study courses like those claiming you'll learn French in 10 minutes a day, instant Japanese, or the most outrageous claim of all that you can become fluent in 3 months, can be just as frustrating as university study. So before you dive into this world of schooling and self-study, we humbly offer you what we call Spanish Zero. It's the step one should take before he attempts to speak a new language. So, what's the big secret? How will we instantly propel you to language learning success? What do we have to offer that others don't? There's no big secret. We make no claim of instant success. What we offer is some Spanish lessons, along with some common sense. One goes to a university expecting he'll learn how to converse in a foreign language, and instead learns to conjugate verbs he's never seen, heard, or spoken before. He'll do homework and take tests and memorize lots of words, but at the end of the semester, he's left feeling like the foreign language is more of a curiosity to be studied rather than a tool to be used for communication. One buys a listen and repeat course, memorizes phrases, and tests his language skills on a foreigner. While he rattles off his memorized phrases, the foreigner understands him. But when the foreigner speaks, the listen and repeat learner will not likely understand most of what the foreigner says. It's because the listen and repeat learner is trying to speak a language he doesn't understand. Do you follow? Early on, the emphasis should be on listening, not speaking. For when you learned your native language, you listened a long time before you spoke even one word. As you grew, your parents would point something out and tell you what the word is for it. They corrected your mistakes. You used the language 4 or 5 years before you started reading, writing, and studying grammar in school. By that time, you had a sizable vocabulary, about 1,000 or 2,000 words. And that's where we begin, at point zero of your language learning, before you went to school and learned formally. Developing a large vocabulary through listening, just like you did from infancy to 5 years old. The result? The foreign language is now less foreign to you. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying one learn a second language the exact same way one learns his first one, otherwise the first 4 words to learn would be mommy, daddy, no, and mine. But a vocabulary of 1,000 or 2,000 words is a good start, and it won't take anywhere near 5 years to accomplish such if you focus your study on listening. And you can do it without flashcards, listen and repeat courses, or university study. There's nothing wrong with doing a little speaking along the way, or even learning some grammar, but those won't be your main concerns. To acquire your vocabulary, use parallel texts. They are texts written in the foreign language with the translation next to it. Make sure you only use ones that come with audio. Continue studying the parallel text until you can listen to it and understand it without having to read at all. A suggested method of study for parallel texts will be in future videos, as well as some specially designed lesson videos that allow you to just sit back, relax, then watch, listen and learn with no need to touch a pen, pencil, paper, or computer keyboard. After you've studied a parallel text with audio to full comprehension, you must take the next and most important step of listening to it every day as much as you can. Then you continue to study other parallel texts and in turn add more audio clips to your listening each day. Do this for several weeks and you'll know hundreds of words. Do this for several months and you'll know at least 1,000. Maybe 2. It's a process of familiarization, followed by understanding, and finally just knowing your vocabulary because you've made it a part of your life. When you learn by listening, you'll hear a complete narrative or conversation uninterrupted as opposed to the broken-up way you learn when you use listen and repeat, which makes the process of acquiring new vocabulary take longer. Plus, it's harder to use listen and repeat while engaged in other activities such as driving, working out, or falling asleep. Listen only requires less attention. I play audio clips when I drive, walk the dog, or even while working on the computer. I've found falling asleep to it a relaxing and rewarding way to end the day. Once you've developed a vocabulary of 1,000 or 2,000 words, start a course that emphasizes speaking. And when you've learned to say enough phrases, a wonderful thing will happen. All these words and phrases you've learned by listening will blend in with what you are now learning to say. It just surfaces naturally and becomes part of your conversation. You are now communicating with foreigners rather than just showing off how many words and phrases of their language you know, because you have a sufficient vocabulary to understand them when it's their turn to speak. You are now learning to speak a language that you already understand. Now, of course, our channel offers more than just this clever plan I've sketched out for you in a few minutes' time. I'll go into more detail about this approach in future videos, which will include course recommendations, guidelines for language learning, as well as some Spanish lessons exclusive to this channel. Subscribe now so as not to miss out on any of it. Whatever study route you take, whether it's attending a university for long-term study and eventual mastery, or by do-it-yourself courses that teach you basic conversational skills, the material we provide on this channel will prepare you for it. So before you take Spanish 101, make sure you know your Spanish 0, a sizable vocabulary based on listening and understanding that forms a comprehensive picture of the language in your mind. That's all for now. Once again, I'm Allison, and we are Spanish 0. Make the foreign language your language too.